From Lenovo, Deb Alvord joins us. First, some supporters to thank, and thank you for listening. This episode is supported by CCW Digital, leaders responsible for operations, information technology, contact centers, customer care, service, and support are invited to register for a free CCW Digital membership. Membership includes networking with 100,000 plus qualified industry professionals, quarterly executive research reports, product matchmaking, and more. Go to ccwdigital.com to join the community. This episode is also supported by the CCW Conference and Expo. The event will empower you to test, learn, and try the next big thing in customer experience optimization. Are you interested in mining data across touch points for personalized and predictive data? Are you trying to integrate your systems to get a more complete view of the customer? Are you figuring out what innovations to invest in? Chatbots, virtual assistants, AI, VR, biometrics, to name a few? Go to callcenterweek.com to register. Recorded at CCW, Deb Alvord joins us and shares that her career began on the floor as an agent with American Airlines, working her way up to training and then quality and then supervisor and then to a supervisory role over agents. Deb notes that many conversations are very similar to the ones that she had on the front lines back in the day, as the customer just wanted, and still does, just want help. She did and still does truly love the job. Once in management, her focus moved to how to take care of the employee. Her goal was and still is to give them the tools to be successful. Her approach was and still is to ensure that the employee has the knowledge base, training, or support that they need. The employee became her customer, as in her mind, the agents are her customers. Welcome to CCW Digital on B2B IQ. I'm your host, Seth Adler. Download episodes on ccwdigital.com or through our app in iTunes, within the iTunes podcast app, in Google Play, or wherever you currently get your podcasts. Deb Alvord.
Alvord.
It's interesting.
I know.
Where is that from in the world?
It's my husband.
Okay. That's a married name.
Yeah.
You're not taking responsibility for it?
No. I was Roberts, and I wish I had just kept that.
Deb Roberts. That's pretty good.
And so, yeah, whenever we go out to eat, we always use Roberts.
It's easier.
It is.
Right.
Don't have to spell it.
No. And how many years have you been married?
22, actually. Yes.
That's...
Thank you.
I feel like this is going to work.
Yeah, I do too.
Right?
I've known him since we were in second grade.
Oh, my God. Really?
Mm-hmm. Since started dating until we graduated from college.
All right, wait a second. Let's just do this for a second. So when you see him in second grade, you're like, I'm going to marry him.
No, absolutely not.
That was just another kid in the class.
That was another kid. We went to school together,
right.
2nd grade, 12th grade.
Were you friends?
We were best friends.
In high school?
And we didn't want to date because, you mess up
You don't want to mess it up.
Didn't want to mess it up.
Right.
So he went to Boston University. I went to UNC Chapel Hill.
Right.
And then we decided, we saw each other periodically when he would come home for Christmas break and stuff. And
right.
Went out on a date after we graduated. He came back down to Raleigh for work.
Wait, how did we decide that we were going to go on a date, though?
He invited me out. He'd always had a crush on me, he said.
Oh, so you were the one.
I had a crush on him, too. We just didn't tell each other because we were friends.
Get out of here.
You don't do that.
All right. So he finally gets the cojones to invite you on a date.
Had a great date at Applebee's.
Sure.
Shared a brownie.
Okay.
And that's where it all started.
That's it. It starts and stops with the brownie.
You got it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. And then it's been ever since.
Dated about 3 years.
Right.
Never dated anyone else after that first date when he came back.
And you knew it.
Amazing.
And you knew it and he knew
it.
Did you know it over the brownie?
Knew it over the brownie.
Right?
Yeah.
At this, you're like, I guess this is what it is.
We're like, why? I've been dating people. He had been dating people. We're like, we always looked for people that was similar.
Yeah. Judge the person on,
And then we didn't have to go through the get to know you stage.
No, not at all.
That's where I knew each other.
I know, but the living together thing, though.
Didn't live together before we got married.
No, of course not. You're a nice Southern girl. Right? Says the New Yorker, right?
You got
it. But okay. But when you did move in, though, that's a difference.
That is a difference.
Right?
Yeah.
So how did you get through that? What did you learn that you didn't want to know and all that stuff?
Oh, gosh. Well, but this isn't a bad thing. He loves to cook.
Oh, good. That's great.
I can't cook as
this
well
is wonderful.
as he can cook.
So, of course,
I was trying to impress him with my cooking.
I see.
But then when we got married, and he would always cook really great. So when we got married, I was like, wow, you want to cook?
Yeah.
So it's fabulous.
This is great. What's his special dish?
God, he can do it. Asian he is a killer with a wok.
Huh.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
All right. I got to get myself a wok,
Yeah.
I guess.
You have to oil it, and
There's a whole thing.
You have to age it or do something. I don't know.
My brother-in-law is a great cook, and he's got a wok. And to watch him on the way into dinner and on the way out of dinner, what he has to do, it doesn't feel like it's worth it.
No.
But then you
But
eat the
it's
food,
amazing.
and it is.
It's amazing.
Exactly.
So,
Do you have a rice cooker?
Yes, we do have a rice
See
cooker.
that? I feel like
We love Asian food.
It might be my brother-in-law that you're married to.
It could be. Although I think I would have known you before now.
Yeah,
so.
probably we would have met. All right.
Yeah.
So North Carolina through and through. You even went to University of North Carolina,
Yes,
Chapel
I
Hill.
did. I'm a Tar Heel.
I mean, here's the thing. Duke, I don't know about those guys. I don't know about Krzyzewski and his whole thing, right?
No.
That's
when you go to Carolina, you learn that Duke is a 4-letter word.
It is, and then it also is.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So did we have championships when you were on campus or no?
ACC.
All right.
Not national.
Okay. And that's rare. I mean,
Yeah.
they
But
tend
I'd like to remind
win.
you who won the national this year.
This year,
So,
was it Roy Williams and
Yes,
the boys?
it was.
Okay,
It was
fair
the
enough.
boys.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right. So there you were at Rupp Arena, right? And then now you say you have twin girls that are going to go also to UNC.
You got it.
So the beat goes on.
The beat goes on. I am such a proud Carolina mom, that's for sure.
What did you study when you were there?
Biology.
Oh, this doesn't make any
nothing.
sense. What happened?
I majored in biology, minor in chemistry and geology.
Wait, so you were like a science and math person?
Oh, yeah, I'm still a science geek.
All right. Okay. So you're there. You're doing the biology thing.
So, okay, so here's how it started. My mom was, when I went to college, her dream had always been to be a flight attendant.
Your mother.
My mother.
Mm-hmm.
So in her 40s, she applied for Piedmont Airlines, which is a southern airline that people may or may not remember.
Right.
She became a flight attendant with Piedmont. I got to see throughout college how cool the airline industry was.
Okay.
American Airlines had a hub in Raleigh.
Sure.
Back then.
Yeah, that's
in the
different.
80s.
Right.
You got it. In early 90s. And so I thought I wanted to go to veterinary school. Worked at a veterinary hospital for 5 years throughout college, and the year before I had gone to college.
Mm-hmm.
Decided it wasn't for me.
Why?
Got too emotionally attached
Yeah.
to animals. I wasn't sure that I could really get up at 2 a.m. and do surgery if there was an emergency.
Right.
And the biggest thing, and I know this sounds really odd, but think about when you do an X-ray.
Yeah.
What do people do? They walk out of the room.
The
'Cause they don't want to
sure.
get zapped.
Right.
With an animal, you can't do that because you got to hold them because you can't tell them to stick your leg and stay still. So you get zapped every time. And so I mean I know I'm going down a rat hole, but that
we got to tell my
really-
niece. My niece wants to be a vet.
Well, but that's a fabulous
Well, she's only 6.
profession.
We've got time, you know.
So I saw the airline industry, and I was like, I'm not going to go to vet school. This sounds really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Went and worked for American Airlines for 7 years.
Doing what?
Doing customer experience.
All right. So, but we didn't
how
call
I
it
got
customer
there.
experience then.
No, we
right?
didn't. We called it contact center.
Yeah, that's it.
Still is. So I started out as an agent. So 25 years ago, I guess it's 26 now. Started on the floor as an agent with American Airlines.
Yeah.
And worked my way up to training, quality, the supervisor where customers call in and they want to talk to a supervisor, and then I was actually supervisor of the agents.
Okay. Let's go back to the front lines.
Okay.
Tell us, if you would,
Yes.
about the types of conversations, the types of calls, the types of customer interactions that were happening all the way back then.
Okay. So what is amazing is they're kind of the same. They haven't changed in 26
Even
years.
with all the technology,
even with all the technology,
digitization.
They just want help. So back then, it was, I want to fly from point A to point B, or you've lost my luggage,
right?
Or I've had a death in the family, I need to go someplace fast, or I had a poor customer experience, I need your help. It just back then, the flying was different, so you had a lot more. You could have the special meals. You could, and people had high expectations.
Yeah.
And so if things didn't go wrong, they wanted to talk to you about that. But it mainly was, I want to fly to the Caribbean. I've never been to the Caribbean. Can you make a recommendation? So you had those people who had no idea where they wanted to go, which was such a neat thing, because then you could say, well, here's where I've been. Here's some recommendations. And then it was people that was your business folks who flew once a week, who knew what they wanted, and they wanted fast service. So you really had to gauge your experience, your delivery of that, your customer experience, based on the different types of profiles of people that were calling in. And I loved it because you never knew who was calling in. You never knew if it was a celebrity or, just an average person that flew once every 10 years. It was neat.
All right. You liked it, right?
I loved it.
That's why we still have you,
That's
I think.
why I'm still in the industry.
There you
I love
go.
it.
Getting kind of boosted up through quality and all those kind of different rungs on the ladder. How did it change for you? How did the kind of experience of working with the customer and then working with your kind of fellow colleagues and working with, folks that were now reporting to you, how did that change for you?
So I really started focusing more on how you had to take care of the employee, because you had to, the biggest thing in my mind was giving them the tools to be successful. Because if you didn't give them the knowledge base, if you didn't give them the training, if you didn't give them the support as a, back then there were like floor walkers, it was a SME, a subject matter expert. So if a new hire agent, for example, had a question, they would put a little cone on top of their computer and you'd run over and you need help. It's just that support, and, the biggest thing is the knowledge, because the world's a very big place. And so people want to fly all over the world, not necessarily just where American Airlines flew. And so you really had to make sure that they had the answers and they had the support. So I kind of saw it from a different perspective of supporting them so that they could be successful in delivering the service that you wanted.
They became your customers.
They became the customers. And that is I love that you said that, because I don't think enough people realize that. They're talking about our customers. Well, in my mind, our agents are our customers. And the work that I'm doing now, it's also those that are in what we call a depot doing, service repair on laptops. It's whoever that is relying upon you to make sure they have the tools to be successful to support the customers.
Why do you say that other people don't see that?
Because I really think people have in their mind, what is a customer? It's that person who's buying your product or, buying your service. And you have to have a mindset of who really is your customer, and then who is their customer. You kind of have to look down the line. Because I know there's a lot of people, when I worked for American or any other company, where they never actually were face-to-face with a customer, but yet what they did really impacted them. So workforce management, for example, how you schedule the agents. Well, if you're not doing your job correctly and you don't have the tools or the resources to do it correctly, then that's going to impact the customer being able to get through to you. And so, you have to support your workforce management folks so that they can support those customers. Those are your customers, and they're supporting the overall customer.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Pretty straightforward. It's not that hard.
Were you at American Airlines still when because it sounds like you were there before the loyalty program, when they brought in miles, the Advantage program.
Yeah.
Were you there for that?
I was there right after, I think it started. I don't remember when it started, but it was 91 to 98. And I think they had started Advantage.
I'm a member since January of 98. So it started certainly by then.
Yes, exactly. And we had differentiated service for people like you.
Well, that's so I from a customer perspective, I have noticed how it has changed as it has gone on.
Absolutely.
Right? And how I've been treated differently along the way as I've gone, on my customer journey.
Yes.
But from inside, what did you this onset of this loyalty program and then this management of this loyalty program, what did you learn and what remains true today, I guess?
It really hasn't changed about those who are most loyal to your company.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you are treating them that you're exceeding their expectations, meeting their expectations. Loyalty is such a huge thing right now. Well, I mean, it's not right now, but loyalty is just huge, and it's a huge aspect of the customer experience. And with, people looking at a company's products or their services in a different eye now, such that, they're willing to pay more for a product or a service to get better customer experience, you really want to make sure folks are loyal and that you're rewarding that loyalty. And I think that's the biggest thing. That has not changed.
Mm-hmm.
How you operate and how you do that, I think, is changing because I think people's expectations are changing. But just making sure that they get top-notch service is pretty key, I think.
I know. I think the concept, you said loyalty is a big thing right now, and then you corrected yourself. I agree with both points of view.
Yes. It was not, I think people just looked at it as, there are top frequent flyers, there are top, whatever loyalty program you have. Yeah. They were the top, 25 years ago, but now it's like, it's so competitive that, and people jump ship pretty fast from company to company.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think people were more loyal back then. I
Certainly.
know that the banking industry is one of the most loyal. It takes a lot for people to jump from one bank to another.
Yeah.
But then there's some other industries that they'll drop in a heartbeat and just hop around. So it's really, I think that has changed, and that's why there's so much focus right now because people can just flip-flop their loyalty so fast. You really want to take it and grab it and hold on to it.
That's it.
And reward it.
Exactly. Precisely. Yes. Okay, so American Airlines until 98, right? Because I think so. And I come in, you leave, Deb.
Yes,
real
I
nice.
Did. I'm sorry.
But where'd you go?
I went to EDS, Ross Pro's company.
Now, what are the chances you got to meet him?
I didn't get to meet him. No, he had already left by then.
Because that's now 2 years after the second run for president, right?
Exactly. So I just remember I'm like, EDS, what's that? And they're like, Ross Pro. I'm like, oh, okay. Still don't know what the company was. So they were in the heyday just enormous outsourcers. EDS was kind of like the leader with outsourcing, a BPO.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that's interesting. So I went from the American Airlines contact center. I was in the contact center for the entire time there near our hub in Raleigh. And someone approached me and said, hey, with all your contact center experience, we've got some other business with a very large corporation, EDS. Would you like to talk? Sure. So that was history.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to spread my wings a bit in terms of working with more than just one company with a contact center because we were outsourcers. Then I got to help with training and implementing best practice processes. I started learning more and more about what's best practice, started attending conferences and so forth, and working with new clients that would come into EDS and help, when we would take over the contact center, helping them to implement best practice and so forth.
So whose best practice was it? EDS's or did you have to adapt your best practice to that company's culture? How would those two things That's a
fabulous question. So we wanted, obviously, to implement our best practice.
Yeah.
But you had to talk with the customer and find out, well, what is it that they were doing? Because like you said, they did have a culture that maybe they didn't want to change.
Maybe. Definitely.
But the biggest challenge, and I think this today is still just an enormous challenge, with BPOs contracts, you are, as a BPO operator, you are bound by those contracts.
How do you mean?
If the customer doesn't want to pay for something like a customer survey or quality monitoring, BPO is not going to do it.
And we need those things.
Yeah. And a lot of times it boils down to cost. So you've got some companies They were all out. This is great. We want everything in the contract. And some were just bare bone. I have got to get my cost per call down to just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So just provide me call recording, just provide me agents, and boom.
Yeah.
So that was, in my mind, one of the biggest challenges because, going through and talking with clients, you would certainly encourage them to do CSAT surveys and to do the monitoring and so forth, but it was really up to them.
Being cheap is so expensive. You know what I mean, Deb?
I know.
Yeah. All right. So we can see how this might have gotten a little bit frustrating,
It did
right?
get frustrating.
And where do we go to next?
So Hewlett-Packard bought EDS.
Right.
And
so you were welcomed into the...
I was welcomed into Hewlett-Packard, so that was really kind of neat. So basically, I never was in the hardware side, the computers, printers.
Okay.
It was still services. It was for outsourcing. So Hewlett-Packard then became an outsourcer.
Uh-huh.
And so they took over EDS's clients and then new clients and so forth.
Where is this along? Is this before Compaq?
This was after.
After Compaq, so this is Carly Fiorina days.
This is after.
Right after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
And so then it grew into, you started, because it was a bigger company, and then we started having like global quality, and so I moved to some global quality teams and started overseeing some global quality initiatives.
How do we do that? How do you?
It means that
how do you do global quality?
That's
right?
a great question. So COPC, love COPC. So COPC came in and certified our quality management and workforce management processes.
Check.
So
check.
that you got it. So that when we would outsource to someone, we would say, look, we follow these guidelines. These are best practice. This is for operational optimization, but obviously improvement for customer experience. And so that kind of grew, started working with our quality teams globally about how are you doing monitoring and looking at COPC processes and so forth. And then I, again, just started getting more certifications myself, started going to more conferences, learning about best practice. I really just I'm just a geek in trying to grow my knowledge with industry trends, industry best practice. I read, I look at white papers, I go to webinars and everything. And then I just try to, spread the knowledge and share the wealth.
Two questions here.
Yes.
First question is the global quality. As you are hearing from other offices across the world and all of that, what were you hearing that was different than what you knew to be true, which then changed what you knew to be true?
Well, the biggest thing was I know this sounds so simple, but just how many calls people monitor.
Okay.
And the focus of the monitoring that, you monitor 3 calls per agent per month with this account and 5 calls per agent per month with this account. And there was no difference for, agents that weren't doing very well. I saw limitations with that because companies were very much, and I do think the pendulum is changing a lot. So again, I'm talking, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, where they just randomly would pick a number, for example, for monitoring because it just sounded good or it's what they've been doing. It wasn't based on best practice, or it wasn't based on you're doing great, but then the agent beside you really needs more help and more monitoring. It was just a flat number.
Right.
So I think as time progressed, I started seeing more of, let's start using a statistically valid sample size and start using a sample size calculator. So I have seen a lot of change in terms of the focus on how, again, to improve agent, performance.
Mm-hmm. Well, that dovetails with what you were saying, though, is that it seems like you consistently have had this thirst, this quest for knowledge.
I have.
Right? And so that seems like you keep on trying to bring that back in to where you're
And then
working.
this is where it was just fabulous.
Yeah.
So then Hewlett-Packard started offering consulting as a service for clients that didn't want to outsource but that wanted best practice. So then I actually got to utilize all that and started going in and doing assessments for clients around the world of their contact centers And then it grew into end-to-end processes.
Yeah.
So maybe it was for a client that does repairs on something. They have a contact center, but they send in something, and what's that end-to-end process? So
give me the whole picture.
The whole picture.
Okay, good.
The whole picture. One of them was for I won't go any specific client names, but it was fun.
Here's my question.
Yes.
You got to now. That seems like a perfect role for the person that I'm getting to know here, right?
Yes.
So here you go into client A. Here you go into client D. Here you go into client F.
Yes.
What was true of all three of those clients that made you bring them? Okay, hey, I'm Deb. Here, day one, we got to do X, Y, and Z. What was X, Y, and Z?
It was so interesting to me that every single customer that I worked with wanted to improve. It was really that end-to-end experience.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment you talked to someone, to the moment you sent in something, to the moment that you fixed whatever it was, or that you delivered on whatever it was you wanted to deliver. And I'm just trying to think because one may have been, it had a contact center, the other may have been going to an airport where you had technicians calling in engine issues.
Sure.
And what was that whole process, and command centers.
That's what you had to figure out.
That's what I had to figure out.
But what did they have to figure out? Meaning, what was the first piece of advice to each? Okay, this is, it's so obvious that you need to change X, or you've been doing X, you need to do a little bit more of.
Listen to the customer.
Always.
Always.
Right?
They had been sitting in rooms talking amongst themselves of what they thought were the best processes. And this is why they were doing things the way that they were. But they weren't listening to the customer. And that was the biggest thing.
Each time out.
Each time. Every single time.
If you, self-reflect, are you listening to the customer now? We're here at CCW. Is everyone listening to the customer, or is it we kind of are and we can always do better, or what is it,
I think that we kind of are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've got the tools and technologies to listen. I think we've got the CSAT surveys. People are listening to calls. There's a lot of data, but I'm not sure that they're really listening and taking action on that. So in other words, they're looking at the answers to the questions. Were you satisfied with the agent that you spoke to today or whatever? But I don't think they're going out and they're asking them the different questions that aren't in the CSAT. For example, I love customer journey mapping.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a customer in the room, handing them a laptop and saying, this laptop has got a screen resolution issue. This is something that I did in a recent customer journey mapping exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Find help. Get technical help.
Go.
And just sit back and watch them go to online self-help. Look for a phone number. Look for chat. Look for how they can get a call back. What is that process? And to see the body language, to see the frustration, or to see the wow moments. Hey, that wasn't too bad. And to watch that whole process, you start to really understand the gaps. I mean, customer journey mapping, I can't say enough wonderful things about it. So that's one area of voice of the customer that I think a lot of people are lacking that really gives some cool insight.
There you
beyond
go. It's enlightenment almost, right?
It's huge enlightenment.
So, and you're talking about Lenovo. So when did you make that switch? Who found who?
August of last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I love it. They reached out and said they had a CX role. Was I interested? And it sounded fascinating that they're in a CX transformation. And
so what are you in charge of? What do we need Deb to do? What's the, Deb, please come in. We're doing the whole CX thing. We need you to specifically do.
So services, post buying a Lenovo product.
Okay.
What is that customer experience? And so I am a director of customer experience within that services tower. So working on our CX transformation of culture within the company and the service that we provide to the customers, and just that whole end-to-end process from the moment they have an issue until they resolve it either on the phone or send in that device and get it back. So
What's
working on
already
a lot
changed?
of different things.
What's already changed in the less than 12 months?
Oh, we're working on ease of access was the biggest thing. I was just in a workshop with Roger Lee, and he was talking about ease of access was one of the top complaints. Accessibility, and that was a key thing. McKinsey had come in and had done kind of a study, and so we've already made some changes for online self-help through our e-services department, and we are actually launching a pilot this coming Thursday.
Look at that.
Actually, the day after tomorrow. This week is going by fast.
There we go.
Where we are moving the way in which customers on our website, find our contact information. And it sounds so simple, but it's a pain point for customers.
Well, sure.
I mean,
it's all a pain point for customers, though, right?
For customers. So, yeah, we're making strides with our culture. I mean, it is not an easy thing. We have about probably it's a 5-year plan, I would say, but it's exciting.
It sounds exciting. And,
it is.
We're sitting here at the end of June at CCW, as I said, and maybe we'll check in with you a little bit further down the line here.
That.
I have 3 final questions for you, though.
Sir.
I'll tell you what they are, and I'll ask you them in order.
Okay.
What has most surprised you at work along the way?
Okay.
What's most surprised you in life? And then on the soundtrack of Deb's life, one track, one song that's got to be on there. First things first, though.
Yes.
We just talked about it, but what has most surprised you at work along the way?
Probably one of the biggest challenges has been culture. And I think most companies, when you talk to some of your leaders in CX, your Disneys, your Marriotts, your Amazons, your Zappos, before you even start your CX initiatives, you need to have that culture in place, because there really is an order in which you have to do things. And this was big coming into a brand new company that had already kind of started a CX journey, that you really have to get the employee mindset into the mode of CX. It's not a project, and this is something I just cannot emphasize enough. You can't go in and say, we're going to have a CX transformation. You can't view it as a project. It has to be something that people just want to do because they know it's the right thing to do. Now, there's certain ways in which you can promote that through recognition, which you've heard in workshops. I'm sure we'll be seeing in the next couple of days at Call Center Week. But, whether it's through recognition, whether it's through, your training, through portals, whatever it is, people just need to want to provide that fabulous customer experience. And it's really hard for people that maybe are designing laptops to really see what it is that they do, how they build it, what features they put in it, how that impacts the end user, that customer. Even though they may not meet the customer face to face. So it hasn't been as much as a surprise as it has been a strong need, that you really cannot just come in and just start doing stuff. You've got to get the support of all the employees and get that mindset. Then you start gradually,
Hearts and minds.
Yeah, and I would love to boil the ocean, but you can't.
No.
That's what's hard.
Yeah. Although I think they're trying, right?
Yeah, but it's exciting, though.
Yeah.
It's an awesome journey.
It sounds like an awesome journey. What's most surprised you in life?
How hard it is to raise twins.
But listen, you're on the back 9 here. They're 18,
I am on the back
right?
9. They're 18. They're going to UNC. Just seeing, I don't know. It was a challenge. It really is a challenge. I know that seems like an odd, response, but I guess they're on my mind a lot because we just went through graduation and getting ready to head off to college, and how much of your life changes when you have kids. And I'm getting ready to go through a huge transformation myself.
Absolutely.
With them leaving. Empty nest times 2.
That's it. Get to know your husband again.
Exactly.
Get
to go on those dates again. So, yeah.
When I asked my sister how her husband is, my brother-in-law, she's like, I don't know.
So
I haven't spoken to him.
No idea.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen him. I just haven't spoken to him.
Yeah.
On the soundtrack of your life, one track, one song that must be on there.
I have a song that's very special to me. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
And
who's
that by?
That's Kelly Clarkson.
Okay.
And so I love the words, and it's so true. It's all about lessons learned, and, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Sure.
But I did a personal goal several years ago that I wanted to lose weight, and I wanted to run a half marathon. Couldn't even do a 5K.
Right.
And I did it. I lost weight. I ran a half marathon. And at the halfway point, that song was playing.
Get out.
No. And I'm like, you know what? This is going to be my theme song. And I'm not lying. Every now and then when I'm thinking about something, oh, this is going to be so hard. I am not lying. This song comes on. I'm like, that is just crazy.
There you go.
And since then, I've done a full marathon.
Get out of here.
19.3. No. So it is my theme song.
Well, I love
it.
26.2 miles.
26.2.
You've
God.
run that at one
time.
Oh.
It took me 7 hours and about 24 minutes.
It just doesn't matter. You did it. Congratulations.
I finished.
I can't believe it.
I've got a medal on my keychain for it.
I can't even conceive of what that is.
I'm doing another one in January.
Oh, my goodness. Where? In North Carolina?
In Orlando.
Oh, in Orlando, Florida. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, best of luck on defending the championship.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm boys. We're going to do all right, I do believe.
Deb, this has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And there you have Deb Alvord. Loyalty is just huge and a huge aspect of the customer experience. And because people can just flip-flop their loyalty so fast, you really just want to take it and grab it and hold on to it and reward it. Very much appreciate Deb's time, appreciate your time. Stay tuned.